This will need to be a layer that I cut with scissors, which is terrifying, by the way, if anybody was wondering. Hello, welcome. My name is Kaylee Jo, but you can call me CJ, and I am a middle school theater teacher. 3 weeks from today, we are opening the Wizard of Oz Young Performers Edition with nearly 80 students involved between cast and crew. So super excited for the show, and I figured being we're 3 weeks out, I should probably go ahead and finish some of the costumes. So today, we are adding some details to Glinda's ball gown, as well as making it an appropriate length for her height. Disclaimer, I am not a seamstress, or even relatively close to a seamstress. I have hot glued many a costume in my day. I can't say I'm super proud of it, but the show must go on and you gotta do what you gotta do. So today I am going to work on these costumes to the best of my ability, and I'm gonna bring you along for the ride. So I hope you find some inspiration for your own Wizard of Oz costumes, or at least a little bit of mild entertainment. Alright, so before I dig into alterations, I wanted to sit down and talk about how this stunning gown came into my possession, because I'm sure there are a lot of you who are thinking, why in the world do you have such an amazing costume for a middle school production of Wizard of Oz? First of all, don't discount middle schoolers. They deserve just as much quality and dedication and effort for their productions as any other group. Hands down. But besides that, I happen to have a family member who owns a clothing boutique. So my family member sells women's casual clothing, but they have a wholesale account with a huge database of different sellers. And some of those include formal wear sellers. So I was actually able to get this gown, which is labeled as a quinceanera gown, not just a prom gown. That's how you get the fullness that we've got here, is because it's quinceanera. And I was able to get this gown for, I want to say it was $140 wholesale. That does not include shipping. But compared to if you've ever shopped for any kind of formal gown, you know that in the store this gown would be at least $500, which is obviously way out of the budget for a middle school theater group, or any school theater group for that matter. That's just a lot of money to spend on one costume. The amount of money that I did spend on this costume is a lot, but before I bought this costume, I looked at my budget as a whole. I looked at all of the costumes I needed, and I found other areas where I could save money. So for example, I found a fellow theater teacher in a different state who recently did Wizard of Oz Young Performers Edition, and I was able to buy a ton of costumes from her at like a fraction of the price of the original, what they would have cost me to purchase brand new. Likewise, I have a lot of costumes already that work really well for Munchkins, for example, because it's just very colorful, very wacky, fun items, and they don't necessarily have to coordinate. The colors can be all over the place and just bright and happy and cheery. So I was able to save in other areas, and that allowed me to put a lot more money than I usually would into Glinda's costume. But this moment is really, really important in the show. This is whenever Dorothy arrives in Kansas, and then this beautiful fairy witch,
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
comes onto the stage, and it's a moment, and it in itself is like this, it's a spectacle. And so that's what I wanted to embody with this costume, and that's why I'm putting so much emphasis and effort into it. So a couple ideas to help you get your hands on an equally high quality gown for your Glinda, for your production, are if you don't have a personal connection to somebody who might have that like wholesale retail license, then go find somebody in your community. Anybody who sells clothing should be able to have access to the same manufacturers of items like this, even if they don't sell formal wear. You can also go to a formal wear shop and see if they would be willing to grant you that access or give you a heavy discount. Or who knows, maybe they just want to donate the dress for your production. You could also trade them advertising space, maybe on the back of your ticket or in the playbill or something like that. Think about formal wear shops, and especially like if you're a high school that's producing Wizard of Oz, then I feel like it would be very beneficial for a formal wear shop to advertise to high schoolers who are going to attend prom. So I think that there's some way you can work this and word this to find local community support. But if you don't have that option, look for used prom dresses. Look on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, or go local and look on Facebook Marketplace. And also don't limit yourself to pink. Yes, in the movie, classically, Glinda wore a pink gown, but in Wicked, she wears blue most of the show, and I've also seen productions where she wore white. Honestly, I think a yellow ball gown on Glinda would be beautiful because she's in Munchkinland and it's bright and sunny and happy, and there's so many options. Don't limit yourself to, if you find the perfect dress and it's green, get it. Let your Glinda be green. There's nothing wrong with that. So anywho, I hope that kind of gives you some ideas on how you can find your very own amazing costume for Glinda. All right, so the very first thing I need to do is hem this dress to an appropriate length for my Glinda. So we are working with a lot of layers here. I've got this top layer, which is tulle and has the fancy appliques on it. This will need to be a layer that I cut with scissors, which is terrifying, by the way, if anybody was wondering, to have this beautiful costume and take scissors to it, but that's what you gotta do. There's another layer of tulle, another layer of tulle, so we have 3 layers of that, and then I have this satin kind of underskirt, and I am going to hem this. I wrote down how much I needed to hem it because I measured her before at school. So I think I need to hem it about 2 to 3 inches. So I will fold that under and sew it. And then there's a couple layers of this really thick, I don't know, very structured material. It's not tulle, it's not that soft. I don't know what to call it. It's like a mesh kind of material. But anyway, under that there is the final layer of satin, which I will also need to hem, and then we have the petticoat. So I need to pin all of this up before I can reach all those layers accordingly. And if you're like, oh, this is way too intimidating, I could never do anything like that. Guys, I'm using this is a sewing kit my mom got me whenever I was 10. And I'm using all the same supplies that I've had since I was 10. And you might notice that there's no sewing machine around here. It's because I don't have one. Are sewing machine sponsorships a thing on YouTube? Can it become a thing? Are there any sewing machine companies? Brother? I'd love a brother, but I'll take anything, really. Singer? That'd be great. That'd be great. So anyway, I do not have a traditional sewing machine, but I do have this little Quick Stitch Quick Plus. It's like a handheld battery operated sewing machine. And fun fact, I bought this bad boy 3 days before my wedding because my dress didn't fit me and I couldn't find anyone to alter it in time. So I actually altered my own wedding dress with this little guy. So I have full faith in his abilities to hem Glinda's skirt. Okay, so I started to go around the first layer of satin to pin it about 3 inches up so that I could hem it, and my pins were not holding. They're slipping right out of the satin. I was getting very frustrated, so I actually found a workaround. So earlier I showed all the layers of the skirt, and the layer directly under the satin, the first layer of satin, is this, again, very structured, like kind of mesh fabric material, but it's very rigid. So what I figured out is that if I fold, sorry, I don't know if you saw my cat just dart out from under the skirt. She keeps playing in it. I already checked. My Glinda isn't allergic to cats. I asked her before I brought it home to work on it. But anyway, so what I found is that whenever I fold the satin up under the more rigid fabric, because the rigid fabric was much shorter than the satin, it's right at 3 inches. So I am going around and hand sewing these little tacks every, I don't know, like 4 or 5 inches, basically every hand, like handprint. I'm doing these little tacks, and I'm just tacking these satin to that more rigid fabric, and this way I don't have to cut anything. So in the future, if for some reason we, would use it again and need it to be longer again, we can do that. But this is going to work really well. This is much easier, and I'm not getting super frustrated with the pins. So as long as my cat doesn't completely derail my progress, it's going good. It's taking a while, but that's okay. Sewing projects are just one of those that are a little time consuming. So we'll keep trucking along. I have just finished the hemming of the 2 satin layers under all of the tulle. And I'm going to use the phrase hemming loosely because I did not do a true hem like I was planning to, but I think it worked out. So I'll try to show you the best I can. This is how that first layer of satin ended up. This should be the appropriate height for my actress so that she does not trip on this layer of satin. And then under that, there were those 3 layers of like super structured meshy material. And then there was another layer of satin that, friends, I'm going to be really honest, I just took scissors to and cut. Because I spent, I don't know. I don't want to think about how long I spent on this top section, just because I was very strategic and very detailed and spent a lot of time to make sure that's not going to fall down or get caught on her feet. So by the time I got to this bottom layer of satin, I was like, you know what? Nobody's going to see this. That bottom piece of satin needs to be functional so that she doesn't trip on it, and that is it. So I just took scissors to it, and that's okay. And I'm sorry if you were like any amount of a seamstress, then you are like cringing right now. But we're doing the best we can with the skill set that we have. I hope one day the universe will send me a super talented parent who's very willing to volunteer their time and talents and resources to help out the theater department. But in the meantime, I'm all they've got. So anyway, those 2 layers of satin are now done. I have decided that I am not going to cut the tulle until it's back on my actress. There's just no reason for me to cut the tulle right now without her here. So yeah, I'm gonna wait to cut the tulle until I am able to try it back on her. I can cut it while it's on her, and that will be the best way to do that. So I'm gonna wait to cut the tulle until I see her again. Now I have to figure out these sleeves, which I'm having a bit of a conundrum with. So I'll show you what I'm talking about and what my vision is, and we'll see how this goes. Alrighty, it is time to figure out what we're doing for the sleeves. So this dress came with a like early 2000s drape around your arms scarf wrap shawl thing. I don't know what to call it, but that means that they gave me a piece of fabric that matches the tulle exactly. So what I've done for the moment is tucked one end of it in here. And the reason I'm having it go over so far is because this is a middle school production, so I'm also trying to be a little more conservative overall. So tuck it kind of in the front. Obviously your shoulder and arm come out there. And then I've tucked it into the back, and it kind of creates this nice big poof. I still have, this is how much fabric I have left. So I'm not working with a lot of extra here, but I'm hoping I have enough to do this definitely on both sides, and maybe even do 2 layers. That would be really great, just because unfortunately this color isn't going to have a lot of contrast. So I'm hoping that it doesn't just completely disappear. I also have the armbands, and don't know, they might look kind of weird if she wears them now. My thought was they were going to be the base of this sleeve, and I might have her like put the dress on once I've attached these sleeves, and then she can put the armbands on, and we'll see if we like them. I can attach them at the bottom, or maybe I can use the flowers somewhere else on the dress. I don't know. Originally, I was so excited about the armband, but now I just don't know if it's going to fit the vision. But this is the general idea for the sleeves. Unfortunately, I am going to have to attach this all by hand. Ta-da! It is hours later. It is dark outside, but I am finally happy with where I'm at on Glinda's dress. Here is how the sleeves turned out. They are big, they are poofy, they are elegant and magical, and another option for them is can kind of pull them down and they can actually be more of an off-the-shoulder look. It just depends. I'm going to have her try it on and see kind of what she prefers and what as a whole we like. I do still have the armbands. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with them. They might end up somewhere else on the dress. I actually even considered taking the flowers off and putting them kind of right here at the top of the bodice. But here are the sleeves. Thank you so much for going along on this adventure with me today. Like I said from the beginning, I am not a professional seamstress by any means. I just do the best that I can with what I have at my disposal, and overall I'm happy with how this project turned out. I hope that my Glinda loves it. I know that she is going to be absolutely magnificent, and I can't wait for opening night. So thank you so much for joining me with this video today, and if you enjoy theater or theater education related content, please like and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, break a leg.